Hockey is a game for everyone, or at least that's how it should be. While professional hockey has attempted to appeal to a broader audience in recent years, the unfortunate truth is that the NHL, either consciously or unconsciously, is systematically alienating and deterring new and longtime fans from enjoying the game they love. Today, we're going to examine the attitude, complacency, and continued disrespect the NHL exhibits towards its fans, season in and season out. Recently, I've noticed a large amount of news articles, Twitter and Reddit posts, and other forms of media discussing the decline in NHL viewership ratings across North America. Sure, there may be some legitimate reasons contributing to this decline, but the larger problem of the Gary Bettman-shaped iceberg is that the league has decided to trade fan experience and cost of entry for immediate profits. With the advent of all this modern technology, I can't fault you for assuming hockey is cost-effective and easy to watch. After all, we have incredibly powerful computers in our pockets. Apps on those computers give you access to music libraries with over 80 million songs for a few bucks a month, a video app that accumulates 183 hours of free content being uploaded every minute, and a different video app with roughly 7,000 years of pornography and counting. Let me clarify right now, this is obviously not the case. As of right now, in North America, there are 3 ways to watch hockey. If you're part of the older generation, prefer the ease of use, or you're a deranged masochist, you probably watch hockey through traditional means like cable or satellite TV. For most North Americans, a basic cable package starts somewhere around $50 per month. If you're into sports, there's a strong possibility you're shelling out even more than that to bundle sports packages alongside your basic cable. This is obviously anecdotal evidence, but for most people I know, sport access is the main reason they haven't cut the cord and abandoned cable TV altogether. A basic cable package of $50 per month means you're spending approximately $600 per year to have the easiest access to your local team. That's not a very cost-effective trade-off just for convenience. But what if you're a fan of a team that isn't local to you? Easy. Spend more money. Access to your local team is just another $20 a month if you bundle. Oh, spending $1,000 plus per year isn't a feasible price to watch the team you cheer for? Too bad. Alright then, so cable is cost and sanity prohibitive. What's the alternative? Before we go any further, I should explain out-of-market and blackouts. For those of you new to watching sports, or those that don't watch games outside of your hometown team, an out-of-market game refers to a sporting event where neither of the teams playing are from your local area. Even if your TV lists the game for you to watch, you may be restricted from viewing it. Think of it like a web filter at work or school for naughty websites or parental controls on a TV. Except it's for sports, and exclusively based on where you live. If you're in the 56% of American households that don't subscribe to cable, your only option is to turn to ESPN Plus or other streaming platforms. Same goes for Canada. ESPN Plus is at least a reasonable cost for some out-of-market games, as the service is $10 per month. This is a decent enough price considering the maximum resolution of ESPN is capable of outputting is equivalent to HDTV from 2005 or YouTube from 2008. In Canada, however, it's $15 per month. But the $15 package doesn't give you access to out-of-market games either. For that, you're going to need Sportsnet Now Premium, which carries a price tag of $35 per month. For a lot of fans that just want to flip on a game when they have time, this is just too much. At the very least, these services are a fraction of the cost you'd be paying for cable, but even so, there will still be blackouts. Now, depending on the team, you probably still won't be able to see all the games you want. For that, you're going to need to subscribe to additional streaming services that have the rights for your game's broadcast or supplement your streaming with a cable package. Where this becomes frustrating and confusing is broadcasting rights with local TV networks. If, for instance, you're a fan of an out-of-market team, but you also want to watch the games for your local team, there's a decent enough chance that you won't be able to watch the local team play on your streaming platform. This is due to local games in your region requiring you to watch them on your local TV station or that broadcaster's streaming platform. Once again, requiring you to have cable or pay for multiple services. If you're going to need cable anyway, what's the point? The only workaround for this is to use a VPN to spoof your location so your local team appears to be an out-of-market game for where you live. Not only is this frustrating and beyond the reach of someone who simply wants to enjoy the occasional hockey game, It's also a great segue into today's sponsor. Using a VPN requires yet another investment. Depending on the VPN service you use, this could double the cost to watch hockey without requiring a cable subscription while simultaneously opening you up to potential breach of the terms of service for the streaming platform you use. To reiterate, there is no way to be able to watch all 82 regular season games while using a single streaming platform alone without requiring the use of a third-party tool. This only leaves the third and most cost-effective option, piracy. Judging by the sheer amount of users online for many of these illegal streaming services, a lot of people must be frustrated with their ability to access games legally. Needless to say, if anyone's looking at that 22% viewership reduction from before, it doesn't take a rocket surgeon to figure out where a lot of those fans have gone. I'm neither condoning nor condemning this method, but it sure seems like you're not leaving fans with a lot of other options. If this is your method of choice, just stay away from all those hot, sexy singles in your area and tricks that doctors hate. When it comes to curbing piracy, music streaming platforms have taught us that an effective way to reduce the amount of pirated material is to provide a cheap and easy way to do it legally. If you had a quality platform for watching any game you wanted for a reasonable price, and that reasonable price provided you with a reliable, legal, and easy way to watch games no strings attached, the convenience itself makes a compelling enough argument for most not to bother with piracy. When I was growing up, I loved hockey. I loved playing hockey, I loved watching hockey. I still do to this day, but I'm slowly finding myself annoyed with hockey broadcasts when I can actually watch one. In my opinion, professional hockey is one of, if not the purest professional sports widely distributed in North America. Whether it's the incredible amount of skill on display, storied franchises and rivalries, or teams before individual mentality, I would argue that hockey appeals to fans slightly differently than other professional sports. This is made all the more unfortunate by the incursion of pervasive and tone-deaf practices exhibited by the NHL and its partners. Advertisements are nothing new to professional sports, but the one thing the NHL did right for a long time was keeping them relatively innocuous. Sure, they existed on boards, in between periods, and, well, just about everywhere else, but some things seemed too sacred to jeopardize. Glass advertisements started appearing in the mid to late 2010s. Behind the net at each end of the ice, digital ads were being inserted into hockey broadcasts. This is the first use of digital advertising that I could find, and while looking back for the prevailing sentiment of the time, opinions seem to vary. Some fans complained, others advised to just ignore them. For me, they've never looked quite right. It's kind of like a bright and distracting neon sign for a bottom-tier strip club. Fortunately, for a brief moment in time, that seemed to be as far as they were willing to go. For the 2018 to 2019 season, the NHL introduced on-ice ads in 8 separate locations. These started as 4 positions between the blue lines and center ice, and an ad in each corner of the rink. Fortunately, these ads were not the jarring and distracting glass ads as previously mentioned, but a static image inlaid into the ice itself, like a line or a dot. Following the implementation of ads directly in the ice, it fortunately appeared as though the NHL was running out of room to include advertisements on the ice. To the NHL's credit, we're not quite at the European ice level yet. In the 2020-2021 season, the NHL started allowing teams to advertise companies directly on player helmets. While this appeared to just be testing the waters at first, they announced that helmet ads were here to stay the season afterwards. Early estimates of this advertising space put the profit in the range of $15 million per season. While it's probably not the most egregious position to sell advertising space, it showed the league that they could continue to sell ad space wherever they can squeeze an ounce of profit. Worst of all, it proved that anywhere an ad can physically fit, it's worth profiting from. If any of you have seen some of the ludicrous European uniforms, you may see where I'm going with this. I'm not totally sure who looks like a bigger clown. When you ask fans, especially those of Original Six teams, what the most valuable asset of their organization is, a good percentage of them will astutely proclaim that it's the team's pedigree and history, their logo that defines the organization. Something many hockey fans consider sacred and holy ground, something that should never, ever, under any circumstances be messed with, let alone be bastardized in the name of a quick and greedy buck. If you haven't guessed by now, this wasn't to remain the case. The promise of a big payday was all too enticing. This season, the NHL has allowed companies to purchase ad space directly on players' uniforms. The iconic CH of the Montreal Canadiens, don't you mean the Royal Bank of Canada Montreal Canadiens? The Toronto Maple Leafs. I think you mean the Ontario Milk Cartel Maple Leafs. Where does this nonsense end? What can we expect from the 2023-2024 season? Pants? Socks? Skates? If this trend continues, hockey players are going to start looking like a stock car. If you're the NHL and you've managed to escape the criticism of the advertisement incursion thus far, where do you go from here? The NHL may be greedy, really greedy, but they're not stupid. Definitely more profit to be realized from a never-ending gravy train than is ad revenue, but deploying too many ads to too many locations all at once will be too far for some people. But it sure would be a shame if we wasted all this great technology. As a continuance of the technological marvel that is on-glass CGI strip club overlays, the ads on the boards can now change to a totally different ad in real time. Isn't it amazing? For the 22-23 season, we've been blessed with this technology. No longer will we need to see the same, boring, static image displayed throughout the entire game. We can have a new ad take its place whenever they like, or rather, whenever they need a revenue injection. For most, changing board ads are obnoxious at best, but downright nauseating at worst. Ads change during play, often glitching and covering up the players in the ice. The simplest solution would be to just change the ads during commercial break only, as to not disrupt the viewing experience. But again, this is the NHL, and if it's worth doing, it's worth overdoing. As if the unhinged board ads weren't enough, ads have since been popping up that include animations. It's genuinely fucking ridiculous. Imagine you're watching a game that isn't blacked out, and you're a casual fan of the game. For the more inexperienced hockey observer, it's difficult enough to decipher what's going on. Hockey's fast, really fast, and following a relatively minuscule black disc around is sometimes challenging even for the more seasoned fan. Then, let's play what's essentially a video on the boards. That's not distracting at all. Again, this is CGI. Fans who shelled out hundreds or thousands of dollars for a single seat to see this live, they don't see it. The only person who loses in this equation is you, the at-home viewer. The biggest names in hockey today. The biggest names of all time. All advertising. Betting websites. It's not just during commercial breaks either. They're everywhere. It's before, during, and after games. It's in the intermissions. It's during stoppages and play. It's sometimes a main sponsor of intermission segments. It's sometimes a main sponsor of during game segments. Why, Wayne? Why? Did you see a commercial for Vince Neil peddling predatory loans and got jealous? The whole industry around this betting garbage is incredibly tedious. They even have their own personalities. These betting gurus are constantly paraded around for these segments, looking like a guilty dog that knows it's done something wrong. They're like Ron McLean, Elliot Friedman, or PK Subban, except without class or substance. Complete shills, doing you a favor by providing a quick update in the middle of the period to what the current betting odds are in the middle of the game. It's just too much. It's all too much. If you watched a hockey game this season, you've probably been subjected to the onslaught of disingenuous and deplorable behavior. To be clear, I don't care if you bet on sports. You may enjoy it, you may be against it. But let's stop pretending these guys are anything but complete shit heels. For the players featured in these advertisements, congratulations, you got paid. But you guys are role models to young fans today, and role models for an entire generation's worth of hockey players. Being bombarded by this at every turn is wearing thin for the casual and dedicated hockey fan alike. It's slowly alienating a huge percentage of your fan base, and before you claim I'm just an old man shouting at the clouds, take a look at this. Undoubtedly, this is doing more harm than good by almost every conceivable metric, and you should be ashamed of yourselves. When I was growing up, I watched hockey and played hockey because my dad liked hockey. I cheer for the same team he does because I grew up watching the NHL right beside him on the couch. Once I got older, I started to appreciate more of what hockey had to offer. The beauty of the game, the speed and the complexity, and most of all, the otherworldly skills that some players possess, regardless of the team that they play for. This past weekend, I watched the All-Stars Skills Competition. For those of you unfamiliar, the Skills Competition is where the best of the best get a chance to highlight what makes them truly elite. Contests are held among the attending players for who's the fastest skater, most accurate, and who has the hardest shot. Additionally, there's also what should be the most exciting of all, a chance to showcase their ability to score a goal combining their entire skill sets. Think of a SportsCenter play of the night. Craziest dunk in basketball, the wildest catch in baseball, or the best kick return in football. Who can score a goal in the coolest and most exciting fashion? Or at least, that's what the name implies. The skills competition is a joke. The argument I hear from defenders of the 2023 skills competition is that it's marketed towards younger fans, a way to help grow the game and among the only opportunities to showcase player personalities among young people. Okay, sure, that might be the goal. However, what the event has devolved into isn't the showcase of talent that it should be. It's more like a Dixie County beauty pageant replete with unfunny skits and only slightly less exploitation. Imagine, you're a young person who's excited to see your favorite player do something crazy. Players like Trevor Zegras with the insane lacrosse goal, or someone channeling their inner Datsuk. Instead, you get Matthew Tkachuk dressed up like Matthew McConaughey while his brother sits in a lawn chair. Did you think that was it? No, we need to arbitrarily include Alexander Barkov dressed as a lifeguard to stand beside him. Still not convoluted enough for you? No problem. We can add a dash of a local NFL player to stand there and add some hometown flair. Is that still not inane enough for you? Good news. Let's bring in one of the all-time great goaltenders, but, wouldn't it be funny if we gave him a pool noodle instead of a stick? That would really tie the whole thing together. Of the 4 contestants who participated in this event, 3 of them involved some variety of painfully unfunny skit. I love Happy Gilmore, but what does this have to do with hockey? Fortunately, the Breakaway Challenge wasn't the only event that took place. Fastest skater, shot accuracy, and hardest shot events were present, as were players playing golf with hockey sticks, and a team competition where players shoot pucks at surfboards that functioned as a trigger for a dunk tank. Only, it wasn't on the ice. Players wore sandals on the beach, but for the more fashion conscious, they wore Crocs. Admittedly, this may have been the most fun event at the skills competition, but that was immediately undermined by the finals of the event, being between a regular player and a goalie, playing with a goalie stick. Each event was broken up into several segments with other contests in between. If you are enjoying the golf event, you'll have to be patient. We have 45 minutes of bad production and 3 other partial events to get through first. For those of us fortunate enough to live where an NHL team is local, at least we have the ability to go see a live game. But depending on your market, you might not be able to afford to go. If you're a family of 4 and you want to take your whole family out to see a game, you might be looking at a cost far beyond what's reasonable or even possible. Lower bowl seating in Edmonton can cost you from $300 per ticket up to $750, $1,000, or even more depending on the team who's coming to play. Perhaps most surprisingly of all, this cost is often exacerbated by Ticketmaster, who, as we all know, is the most consumer-friendly ticketing service known to man. From ticket prices alone, you might be alarmed to find out that yes, you are indeed buying entry to a hockey game and not a Taylor Swift concert. Some smaller market teams have it a bit better, but you're still looking at a couple $100 per seat. What seems most crazy to me, using the pricing from the Edmonton game shown earlier, it's actually cheaper to fly a family of 4 to and from Las Vegas, rent a hotel, watch the game in the same seats, rather than drive downtown to go to a hockey game. That is pure insanity. The average family can no longer afford to go to a local hockey game. The fans are the NHL's most important resource, and like any resource, it needs to be treated with respect. How did the NHL lose sight of that in such a short amount of time? If they haven't by now, they inevitably will, and fans everywhere are losing interest at an alarming rate, and there's little redemption on the horizon. The issues discussed today are not the only issues facing the NHL, but they are major contributing factors to the decline in both viewership and the perception of the league. This behavior is disrespectful to fans, and the NHL knows it, but they don't seem to care. It's really quite sad to see the game we love so much being disgraced by hubris, greed, complacency, and the lack of foresight that the NHL has exhibited in the last decade. The point of no return is coming sometime in the not-so-distant future, and we should be wary that if the NHL continues down this path of being an active participant in their own demise, there's nothing we'll be able to do to rescue it. This is Corporately Indifferent. Thanks for watching.